So Netflix loses a $170 billion media empire to a company Hollywood had basically written off as irrelevant 12 months ago.
And the winners are promising $6 billion in cost savings while swearing nobody loses their job.
Classic. Love that for them.
The math does not work, Nate.
The math never works. That's not the point. The point is Paramount just pulled off the comeback story of the decade.
The point is someone's getting laid off. We'll get into who. The rundown.
Okay, so SpaceX buys XAI for $250 billion.
Elon Musk sells his AI company to his rocket company.
Largest M&A deal ever recorded, by the way.
Which, sure, congratulations, except he's on both sides of the table. Who exactly was negotiating against whom here?
I picture him sitting alone in a room, shaking his own hand.
Governance critics are already circling. Antitrust watchers too. This one has a long regulatory life ahead of it.
Moving on. Devon Energy drops $58 billion to buy Coterra, which makes them the third largest Permian Basin producer overnight.
Big oil getting bigger while everyone's busy watching the tech circus.
Classic. Nobody's looking, Devon just quietly gobbles up a massive chunk of West Texas.
Boston Scientific acquires Penumbra for $14.5 billion. Neurovascular specialist. Smart move, actually. They've been building out that interventional portfolio for years, and Penumbra fills a real gap.
See, you say smart move, and I say $14.5 billion for a company most people have never heard of.
That's why you're not running a medtech strategy team.
Fair. Nuveen, meanwhile, drops $13.5 billion on UK asset manager Schroders.
Global wealth management is consolidating fast. This is the third major cross-border asset manager deal in 6 months.
Pattern recognition, people. Write it down.
And Banco Santander picks up Webster Financial for $12.2 billion, announced February 3rd. They're serious about building a real US retail presence.
For $12 billion, you'd better be serious.
Oh, and buried under all of this, the Daily Telegraph sold quietly for £575 million to a German buyer.
Wait, really? One of Britain's oldest newspapers?
While everyone was counting billions elsewhere. 575 looks almost quaint right now.
That's the bifurcation story in one image. Megadeal's doubling year over year, overall volume down 22%. Only the conviction plays are getting done.
Which brings us to the deal with the most conviction and the most drama of the whole year so far.
Paramount versus Netflix, and HBO in the middle of it?
And that's next. The big one.
Okay, so Netflix just got humiliated.
I mean, yeah, that's one way to put it.
$170 billion? Paramount Skydance walks away with Warner Brothers Discovery. Netflix made a serious run at this and got outbid by a company that Hollywood had completely written off.
12 months ago, people were writing Paramount's obituary. Now they're buying one of the most valuable content libraries on the planet. I genuinely did not have that on my bingo card.
It's the ultimate underdog story, except the underdog has HBO.
So let's actually talk about the structure here, because this is where it gets interesting to me. You're combining HBO Max and Paramount Plus under one roof. On paper, that's a streaming colossus. In practice, you have two struggling platforms with overlapping subscriber bases trying to justify $170 billion.
And $6 billion in projected cost savings over 3 years?
Right. And that's where I want to slow down. $6 billion. That is an enormous number. Management is out there saying jobs will be spared, the culture will be preserved.
Which, come on.
Analysts are already calling it. When you're engineering $6 billion in savings, the math doesn't care about your press release. Headcount is coming down, probably significantly.
You know what this reminds me of? Every airline merger ever. We're combining our loyalty programs and no one loses their job. And then suddenly, there are 40% fewer gate agents.
Exactly. The footnotes always tell the story the press release won't.
Here's what I actually think is smart about this deal, though. Content is an arms race, and scale is the only moat left. Netflix learned that. Disney learned that the hard way. This gives the combined entity genuine leverage with advertisers, with distributors, with talent.
I don't disagree on the strategic logic. I just think 170 is a lot of conviction to put behind streaming at a moment when the whole model is still figuring itself out.
Fair. But if you're Paramount Skydance and you don't make a move like this, what are you in 5 years? A mid-tier platform nobody's paying $12 a month for.
So it's a desperation play dressed up as a power move.
Or it's a power move that only looks possible because they had nothing to lose. Sometimes those are the same thing.
That is the most banker thing you have ever said.
I know, I'm not proud of it.
All right, speaking of moves that raise eyebrows, we need to talk about a man selling a company to himself. Voices? Okay, so bankers are out here calling this a green light moment. Rate stability, friendlier regulators, everyone's apparently ready to party.
And look, they're not wrong. Long-term valuation modeling actually works again when rates aren't moving every 6 weeks. I get it.
Sure, but here's what bothers me. Volume is down 22% year over year. So whose party is this exactly?
The billionaires' party. Megadeals have more than doubled. It's not a green light for everyone. It's a green light for people with massive conviction and a giant checkbook.
Which tracks? You're not getting a $170 billion media merger across the finish line on vibes. That's we have done the math 17 times and we are committed kind of deal.
Speaking of math, analysts covering the Paramount Warner Brothers Discovery deal are basically laughing at the jobs narrative. $6 billion in cost savings. Someone said, the math doesn't lie, headcount is coming down.
Yeah, I'd love to see the footnote where they explain how $6 billion appears without touching salaries.
It's called synergies, Maya. It's a technical term meaning...
Layoffs with better branding, yes, I know.
Exactly.
Okay, but I do want to push back on one thing. The banker's calling this a green light. Deal close timelines are now averaging around 150 days. A decade ago, it was 53. That's not a green light. That's a green light with a very long yellow in the middle.
That's a fair point. The window opens, but getting through it is still a grind.
And on that note, we've got some of those grinds approaching critical windows right now. Spill the tea.
Okay, so Netflix, the company that disrupted every legacy media player on the planet, just got outbid by Paramount Skydance. The same Paramount Skydance that Hollywood was basically eulogizing 12 months ago.
Second tier player, that's what people were calling them, second tier.
And now they're sitting on a $170 billion deal for Warner Brothers Discovery, with HBO, with CNN, with the entire Warner library. I genuinely did not have this on my bingo card.
Neither did Netflix, apparently, which raises the question, how bad do you want it if you walk away from that table?
Maybe Netflix decided the content library wasn't worth the regulatory headache, or maybe they just got beat on price.
Or maybe they did the job's math and ran. $6 billion in cost savings over 3 years. Analysts are already saying headcount is coming down hard. That's not a synergy story, that's a restructuring story wearing a synergy costume.
That's a great line. Can I have that?
No. Now, can we talk about the SpaceX XAI thing? Because I need someone to explain to me how Elon Musk sold his own AI company to another one of his own companies for $250 billion. And we're all just sort of accepting that.
I mean, $250 billion, with the BES largest M&A transaction ever recorded.
It's a circular transaction. He's the seller and the buyer.
Okay, but imagine the advisory fees on both sides of a deal where the same person is essentially negotiating with himself.
The bankers ate well that week.
They ate well that decade. Speaking of which, did you see the Telegraph quietly sold for $575 million to a German buyer while everyone was busy counting billions?
One of Britain's most storied newspapers. $575 million. That's a rounding error on the XAI deal.
Genuinely wild week. Okay, stick around. We're getting into Devon Energy's $58 billion Permian play next, and I have thoughts. Tomorrow's radar.
Okay, tomorrow's radar. EQB and President's Choice Bank. Competition Bureau cleared it, but there are still regulatory hurdles sitting out there. Watch for any movement on those sign-offs.
Canadian banking drama. Genuinely underrated storyline.
And Lonza just announced the Lone Star deal for the capsules division, retaining a 40% stake, which I actually think is the interesting part.
40% is not a clean exit. That's, we think you're going to mess this up and we want a seat at the table.
Or they like the upside.
Maya, they retained 40% of a capsules business.
Fair point.
Also worth noting, deal close timelines are averaging around 150 days now versus 53 a decade ago. Several late 2025 announcements are hitting critical windows this week. Shareholder votes, regulatory deadlines.
The calendar is about to get loud.
Very loud. Speaking of loud, we need to talk about the XAI numbers.
250 billion reasons to talk about it. That's next.